Thank you, France, and thank you, Scotland, for reminding us what rugby can look like, the joy it can bring. That was, even in 1 minute of that game in Saint Etienne, that was a million miles away from the game we saw earlier at Twickenham. So thank you for that. I'm Tim, this is Egg Chasers with my full-time reaction to Scotland travelling to France to play the hosts for the Rugby World Cup. And the full-time's just happened, so this is my instant hot takes. So I may well miss some elements of detail, but I just thought I'd get over my initial feelings following the game, as I did earlier, and as I will be doing for many games in the weeks ahead as we look forward to the Rugby World Cup. So please hit subscribe if you haven't already. Leave your comments. What did you make of that game? What are the takeaways for you? And as you'll see, and as you've noticed from the videos today, I'm not in my regular surroundings in my studio, but I brought the mobile kit and brought it on the family holiday. We're down in Devon at the minute, right on the sea. She's lovely. So I'm outside. And you know how people wear dry robes these days? Dry robes are all the rage, aren't they? Well, before there were dry robes, there were rugby subsuits. The original dry robe. And that's what I wear when I come out. Got my rugby subsuit going. So Scotland, France. The loser, Scotland, I reckon would probably come away from this game feeling better for a number of reasons. Firstly, Scotland were very, very close to winning that and maybe should have done. And they need to have a look at themselves in terms of getting over the line in big games. However, really the difference between the two teams was 1 5-minute patch when France just did France things, which France are going to do. But when Scotland were ahead and had a great first half, and you thought initially, oh, this is going to be a total reversal of last week where Scotland had an awful first half, then a brilliant second half. But actually what happened was Scotland had a great first half. They had a big dip in the second half, and you thought it was going to be a total reversal. But that last 20 minutes for Scotland to come back in the way they did, show some proper minerals, should fill them with a lot of confidence. They do need to work out how to get over the line. There's no question about that. But a world-class goal kicker in Thomas Ramos and France doing ridiculous, playing rugby from another planet for 5 minutes is enough to put most teams away. And it was just enough to put Scotland away today. I think both teams will reflect on this and think they've got areas they need to work on and will. But Scotland are legit. We knew France were a legit rugby team. That isn't a surprise to anybody. But Scotland are a legit team. And you have to say, those top 5 sides in the world, France, Ireland, obviously that's not in this order, it's Ireland. Is it New Zealand number 2 now? It might be New Zealand. Anyway, Ireland, New Zealand, France, South Africa, Scotland. Those 5 teams are a cut above the rest. Pains me to say it as an Englishman, but they are. And fair play Scotland. And Finn Russell, the more responsibility you can give to Finn Russell, the better. And it seems like that's what's happened with Gregor Townsend. And over the recent months, more and more responsibility and the reins are being handed over to Finn Russell, and it's working. The team are obviously behind him, and it just looks great. And I just love the bravery. And that was the stark difference between the game earlier at Twickenham and the game in Saint Etienne in France, is just the bravery of teams. Just there was one moment where I think there was like a spilled ball, or Scotland had been hit and tackled, and the ball just kind of got thrown backwards and it had spilled, and Blair Kinghorn picked it up. So Scotland were on the back foot, and he wanged the ball left to Hugh Jones, who sort of tried to find a bit of space in the middle of the park. And you just thought, well, this is a team with like a mindset to have a go if there's any possibility, and they back each other, and the coaches back them, and if it does go wrong, then they've got a good scramble defence and stuff that will make up for it. And France the same. They just the number of times we saw the game earlier and it was kick, kick, kick. If the kick wasn't on the money, kicking back to France, Dupont will go, Ramos will go, and we saw that for was it the Olivon try? What a try! Yeah, Dupont gets the ball deep, runs it back, gives it to Ramos. Brilliant pass inside. It's just the execution of skills. Scotland left a little bit to be desired out there in terms of some of their execution. They can do better. And that's the positive thing, I think, for Scotland. They're good. They can definitely do better. And they will. And they're going to need to with their pool. That opener in South Africa. I think South Africa will be very, very respectful, as they should be for Scotland. So, but Thomas Ramos, by the way, he's world class, isn't he, that guy? He's legit world class. We know DuPont's world class, Aldrit world class, but Thomas Ramos is serious rugby player. And he's one of those guys, when you look at him, he just does incredible things so well. And he's like like 90% goal kicker as well. So he's different gravy, that guy. Love him. Also, I've got to mention the injuries. I mentioned this in the England-Wales game earlier. Emil, that's his dad. Roman Ntamak, Jonathan Donty, Rory Sutherland, Duhan van der Merwe. Some real concerning injury worries. I think Rory Sutherland, did he get up and he looked like he was really badly injured. I think he just had the wind taken out of him. But the other three, Ntamak, Donty for France, their midfield, 10-12 combo. Ntamak's face, I think, told a picture. He was not happy. So we're going to have to watch that one with interest. They do have backup, but that's a hammer blow. And Jonathan Donty as well. It's a big one. Duhan van der Merwe, the guy is a tank. And he showed that again tonight. So that's a real concern. We need to watch that. That's probably almost... Those three injuries are almost more significant than the 80 minutes of rugby, potentially. So it wasn't perfect from either team. But you got the sense that with these teams, every game is winnable because they have attacking rugby in their locker and rugby that you want to watch. And I was talking earlier about the England-Wales game, calling it uninspiring. I would say that this is inspiring. Because rugby's had financial issues, hasn't it? There's problems that need to be addressed and financial woes. The game earlier, it's not any sort of spectacle. And I get that winning games is important. And yes, okay, if England or Wales won the World Cup playing ugly, and as an Englishman, if England won the World Cup playing ugly, I'll take it, 100%. But I also do recognise there's a bigger picture here in inspiring players, inspiring a sport which is hanging on by a thread financially and participation numbers are dropping. People want to wear a Antoine Dupont shirt. They want to wear a Finn Russell jersey. I absolutely loved it from that point of view. But as much as is all the flashy stuff, there was one moment early in the second half, and I absolutely loved it from France. It was an exit from their own line. If you go back and watch it again, I think it was like 45 minutes just after they'd scored a couple of tries and got the lead. They were on their own line. Scotland were attacking. And they just did the most amazing exit. Line out with deception, different people moving, slick. The ball got whipped to Gregory Aldrit. All the different forward runners were running different angles. They all knew what was happening. And Dupont just wallops a box kick to the touchline on halfway. It was just class rugby. Simple things done amazingly well. And that is why they are a force to be reckoned with. We've got to mention the ref. I don't like talking about refs and criticising generally, so I'm making a broader point with this. I'm not picking on any ref. He was a bit loose at the breakdown, to the point where there's quite a lot of high tackles, and I thought Scotland got, particularly Jamie Ritchie actually, got neck rolled quite a few times, and the ref let it go. It was quite loose. And the only reason I mention that isn't to pick on the ref particularly, it's just to say that the refs are going to have an impact in this World Cup. And the interpretation of refs from the North and Southern Hemisphere are really different. And from ref to ref, it is really different. And so the team that understands that, clicks into gear, recognises, manages the referees well, and is good at playing a man down or two men down, or in case of England, 3 men down. It's going to be massively important for this World Cup. I will return with more thoughts on France and Scotland in a further video. Those are just some of my initial thoughts. I would love to know yours. Oh yeah, one more thing before I finish this one. I'm looking forward to a Rugby World Cup where the host broadcaster is French and the TV director goes for slow-mos on everything. Everything in slow-mo. Like even during the national anthems, they cut to some slow-mo shots of stuff. I actually quite like all the slow-mo, and I especially like all the slow-mo when even in slow motion, Damien Penaud and Roman Ntamak and Antoine Dupont and Thomas Ramos and Finn Russell and Duhan van der Merwe, even in slow motion, they look faster and more electric than any England players did earlier today. So on that note, I'll see you on the next video. Hit subscribe, leave your comments.